What up, chiropractors, to an episode here on the Mindful Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Vic, and I'm excited that you're here. This week, we're discussing something in chiropractic that I learned over time and seeing, actually learning through spiritual truths and universal laws and stuff like that. I started going, I'm doing something here a little backwards. And it's one of the things that when I was working with entrepreneurs a lot, they had the same thing, and it's interesting. And now I'm like, thinking about it and going, okay, what is, you've heard this before. What's your why, right? Because every why can overcome any why. And knowing your why can overcome your anyhow, right? But what is the principle that you hold yourself to? What is and let's talk about this in practice, okay? What are the values, the core values of your business? What do they stand by? What I call them codes, right? These are things that no matter what happens, this is what we follow. This is our code. We don't break the code. Okay. And the reason why I use the word codes a lot is because if you think about it from programming, like a computer program, they type in code. Well, that program could only run based on that code. It has to follow that sequence, no matter what. Okay. No matter what. And so when it comes to codes living by your life, it's the same principles. What is the codes that you run your business by? Right? Because how many times you've been in business where you're a chiropractor and you have this thing like, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm focusing on. This is our standard of what we're going to hold in our office. And then someone comes and let's say you have a standard of care where everyone has to follow my care plan of what I recommend for them, or else I can't serve them at my best. And it's not worth my time nor theirs and their money. Right? If you have that, I had that. And if you have that, then all of a sudden it's like, then here comes this patient. Love them. You got to love the energy, love everything about them, right? And then all of a sudden, here comes the care plan. They say, you know what, doc, I love that 3 times a week. I just can't do it in my schedule. I can do once a week, but I can't do 3 times a week. What are you going to do? Have you ever said, we'll see what we can do with that? Did you stick to your code? I know there's times I've done. I didn't. And I'd be so furious because what ended up happening majority of the time, they were the patient that either took too much of my time. And there's nothing wrong with taking my time. I have another code in my office. I will take care of my patients for what they need, for whatever time frame they need, to a certain degree. Obviously, if it's beyond a certain point, then my staff knows, hey, we got to get you out of this room. Let's set up an appointment if you need extra time with Dr. Bick. But there's things where I will serve them at what they need and so forth. But most of the time, those people ended up being my patient who will, end up falling off care, not following it, and then eventually just leaving and saying chiropractic doesn't work. This is why I became very strict in what I chose for patients to allow in and not in my office for those reasons and many others. But it's knowing that code. What is it? Do you have the system in place? Because if you don't have that system in place in your office, this is going to create chaos. Okay. You got to have, it's just like life. You have to have standards and practices and systems in place in life, in your marriage, in your physical health, your mental health, and your finances. All these systems have to be in place. If not, it's going to be chaos. And the same thing with business. I can't tell you how many times I work with, when I was working with entrepreneurs, and I ask them a question sometimes. Some of my clients I work with, I'd be like, what's your values in your business? What does your business stand for? What is the purpose of the business? What are things that you allow and don't allow? Do you have a handbook? Do you have something that you can abide your employees to let them know, to get them involved in that? Because these are principles that you have to live. I live by codes in my own life. I have standards that I live by. No matter what happens, that standard is held. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I got there, to where I'd be like, hey, I'm holding this. This is what it is. Unfortunately, it sucks, but I can cookie cut it. I can change it up. I can do some other things. But at the end of the day, this is the code. This is what it is. And this is what I have to follow. And so what is that in your business? What's the core values of the business? What does it serve? What's the purpose behind it? What's the why, right? What's the why that overcomes anyhow? You have to be crystal clear in these things. When I coach chiropractors and I coach entrepreneurs, I focus a lot on something called vision. I'm actually, if you're listening to this before Friday, October 8th, send me a message, DM me if you're on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, or message me and just say, I'm interested, or mention, just say workshop. Just DM me workshop. Okay. That way I have a workshop coming up this Friday, a masterclass actually, where I'll be sharing the one shift in perspective that I learned over the years in myself and my own business and working with others, entrepreneurs, that makes massive shifts when it comes to their life if they just do this one thing. Now, this one thing isn't the end all be all, just like in chiropractic. Chiropractic isn't the end all be all to everything. There's other factors that help incorporate and play a role in an individual's health. Same thing here, but this is the biggest foundational principle to help someone thrive in anything that they do because it's a universal principle. So DM me, workshop, or send me a email, drvic@empoweryourreality.com. Just put in the subject title workshop and I'll send you a link to register. We are going live Friday at 12 p.m. But this will be something that you can go ahead and join. You can listen to. I promise it's going to be very empowering. It's a workshop I'm very excited to share. So going back to the principles of what's the codes, what's the values, you want to look at things that matter most to you, or what you're creating your business for. Okay. Sometimes when it matters, should matter to you. I will say that. I don't want to, because sometimes I'm like, personal business, but the thing is, it's you. Your business is a representation of you. So what are the things that you value that you want your business to serve? What's the purpose of the business to be there for? And don't give me it's to save the world or XYZ. What is that? What's the values that your business provides? That, and what's the codes that the business stands by, right? As the doctor, you want to know what are the codes that you're living by or practicing in the business that you hold to. Well, do you hold your patients to your care plan? If they miss a certain period of times, what that's going to be. You can call these systems. I just call them codes, but it's the things that, what are you doing in your business to make sure it's streamlined? There's a system in place, and that way things work more efficiently. Okay. And so these are things that I've learned. One of the big ones was just having codes and having values. And this is what we held to. And we have a little book and it tells us core values of the business, and it shares what they are. And then I break down each word and why we chose it and what it means to us. So that way my employees know, and my team, my staff knows that aspect of it. And then we also have other factors in there that will help them grasp and understand that. We'll have a dialogue on that so they can really understand what we're doing in this office, right? It's not something to just adjust, fill the pocketbooks and feel great like I'm doing something. There's a purpose behind the business. And it's actually what I have my staff do is they know that it's beyond money. It's beyond money. If I do something just for money, it's not going to work for me. I will be very depressed. It has to have other purposes. And that's me. That's just how I work. And so, but that's one of the things that we do is having what is the values and what are the codes that you have in your business. I highly recommend start looking into that. And if you have it already, great. This is a great time to go back and revisit and refinish and see, are they still in tune with what you do? Because what I've learned, and just like when I teach vision and stuff, sometimes you're going to tweak it a little bit, right? Sometimes every year we'll look at the values and say, are we still holding to that value? Is that still important to us? Are these the standards we want to still hold? And then we look at that and say, what are we going to change that we may want to or not want to? And we continue moving forward. And it's something that we've done for quite some time. And it has served a bigger purpose in our office. There's times when we didn't have it, or we kind of had it, we forgot about it. And then we're like, oh, we got to go back and let's revamp this. Or let's redo it all over again. That way we can really get crystal clear as a team. And sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll even do it when we have some new employees. We have a new employee come on board. After they've been there for a while, they got through the initial onboarding stage, made it past that. Then we'll look at, okay, let's put a team value here. Here's what our core values are. What are yours that are important on being here? So that we can encompass this synergy. Because I will tell you right now, it's all about synergy at the end of the day. And your team has to have synergy. If the synergy is solid there, the friggin' office is going to rock. Whether you whatever you do, you're going to become a magnet. People will just start calling out of nowhere. And we've done this so many times. It's kind of very powerful in how that works. And my wife and I have been playing around with this for the last couple of weeks. And in the last 2 weeks, we've been seeing record numbers. And it's interesting how that works when we just get the synergy together. So that's what I got for you this week. So one of your homeworks is going to be then, and I'm going to give you some action steps. I'm going to challenge you. If you don't have a code or standard values in your office, start looking at what is the purpose of your business? Why is it there? And it can't be monetary. It has to be something deeper. What is it serving? What's the purpose? What do you guys hold yourself to? And then on top of that, what are codes and systems? What are things you allow and don't allow? And this, you got to look at every fabric. This is not just one entity I want to focus on. We can look at, how do you focus on patient care? What's the codes that you follow? What's the systems that you follow? Okay. What about when they're going through care? Do you have an educational system? I'll talk about these kind of things and so much more. These are business principles I get into a little bit, but it's the aspect of got to get the values down first. Because once you have that, then everything works off that. And now you're you're synchronized to everything. A lot of times what chiros do, and I shared this in my IG stories and Facebook stories, is that so many times we're into the doing side of things, like, oh, cool, I have to have an education program. All right, great. I'm going to put all these videos together. I'm going to create a sequence of emails. I'm going to do automation. I'm going to do all this auto stuff, right? Or, hey, guess what? My coach told me on day 7 of their visit, I need to do this. Well, I have an alert system with Chiro Touch, so it's going to tell me that. Great. And I'm going to do this story on this day, and then this day, and this day. And then I'm going to do follow referrals on this day and this day. Too much doing. We got to get rid of that bullshit. I'm not saying doing isn't important. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but there's the beingness. Okay. You ever have someone tell you to do something that didn't work out? And they'll be like, you just got to continue practicing until you get it. No, I mean, that works. But here's the thing. You got to have the beingness there. You have to understand the why. You have to have the connection with everything. Once you connect everything, then all of a sudden that doing becomes easy. That doing just works. Not saying it's always going to work, but it will work for the majority of the time. And it's because you're tied together. There's that synchronicity. And there's so much I can go more into, but that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So any questions, anything you have, please let me know. And if you like what I'm sharing in this content, in this podcast, and you're like, dang, I like to get connected in some way, shape, or form, shoot me a DM and say, I'm interested. Okay. I'm interested is going to alert me, or you can email me at drvic@empoweryourrally.com. Send me and just say, I'm interested. And what that's going to do is we'll set up a one-on-one discovery call to see if we're a good fit, to see if you're a good fit. This new program I'm having, which is a case study that I'll be doing for chiropractors. I'm only allowing 5. We have 3 spots available left. And what that's going to do is we're going to go through a 90-day program where I'm going to teach you everything that I teach, usually in a year, in 90 days, on how to double your profits, work less, and spend more time with your loved ones. That is something that I've been teaching and working with many entrepreneurs. They've done different programs of it all. You guys get all 3 of my programs, which I call the Manzo Mindset Method. And you're going to get all that in 90 days. And on top of that, just to put a little bit more onto that, in the program, I even offer that where when you go ahead and do the program, there is even a better than money back guarantee. So if you're interested in something like this, DM me. I'm interested. I'll send you a link to get on a one-on-one discovery call and to see if we're a right fit for each other and to go ahead and move forward. So appreciate you being on the podcast. As always, if you like it, click like, share a review, gets us out there. And if you thought this was inspirational, somebody needs to hear this, please pay that forward by sharing this podcast episode with them. As always, I appreciate you guys. Until next time, keep rocking.